started. Hello, everybody.
Yo, what up, what up?
What up?
Good morning. It's all this morning in Web3. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, Alex. How you doing?
I'm doing okay, buddy.
So I sent Rob the invitation to co-host. He's our big guy today.
Come on, Rob.
Jesus, what a day. What a day. I haven't checked anything that happened in Web3 for the whole of today, so I don't know whether Bitcoin dropped to 30K or not.
No, it did not.
Yeah, shit. I was hoping for a very steep price drop.
Oh, I'm starting to wonder if it's ever gonna happen because everything is dropping, but Bitcoin is staying above like 100k. It's now at 105, like 105 rounds solid.
Well, we all know that when everybody feels that it's never going to drop, it drops.
That's
But
true.
honestly,
That's
it's
true.
a good place
There we
to be
go.
in.
That's
Good morning. Good morning. Hello,
Good
everyone.
morning, buddy.
Hello.
We made it. We made it. Yeah.
You made it. Well, I have to thank you for the fantastic job that you've done in bringing Nervos here. So we're going to wait for our special guest to join us. But
thank you guys for allowing us to host this.
You really brought in a big fish.
The big kahuna.
They
Well,
really are.
It is cool that they are a large market cap project and they're still giving time to little peeps like us. So that's really
Us
cool.
degenerates. Yay.
Well, today we're not rich yet. I was looking at dog's price. So that's what I think we're still away from being extremely rich.
I would like to.
We're gonna be waiting a bit longer, I think, to see our rune bags pop back
Yeah,
up.
that stuff did drop to like 30.
Yeah.
30 sets.
Yeah, that really did drop. Well, we can always hope. So what are you guys up to today? Aside from being into this exciting space.
Man, today's my day off. Feels great.
I've been having boring days at work, but it isn't really a day off if you're forced to work even a little bit.
True. And even when we do have days off, we never really actually have a day off. There's always stuff.
That's true. Well, we can try to be lazy. That's something that is always an option.
I try.
Don't you guys do the new Gen Z thing, the quiet quitting? Have you heard about that?
No. I'm sorry. I'm just too old to even follow those trends. Me, I just rage quit. Yo, we have Chief from Telestai.
Hey, Chief.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Hi, Chief. Welcome back.
How are we?
Good. How are you?
I'm awake. I've got coffee in me, and I'm eating. It's awesome.
That sounds awesome.
And it's what, 6 o'clock in the morning at your place?
Just a tad before 5.
6 in the morning, police at my door.
Jesus Christ, you must really love us to come at that time of the day.
Dude, honestly, I love this stuff. This is awesome. Hanging out with you, DJs, but we're all, that's life.
Yeah.
5 o'clock in the morning, that's like, That's for me, it's sleeping time for me. As in, I will just stop watching whatever I'm watching and I'm heading to bed at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm not waking up for no sum of money in the world. I will wake up at 4:45.
Well, that brings me to my next question. How much are we paying me?
Well, we all decided that it's Rob that's paying for everybody, so I think we're gonna wait for him to answer that.
I've got some SparkPoint SRK tokens left somewhere if you want them. Market
That's a pretty good
value
idea.
below 0.
We should pay each other in really bad rug pull tokens.
I used to be a part of a community. This was back in the day when I think it was the first bull run that we had with altcoins, and we had tons of shitcoins on the smart chain, and I would be tipping people with the worst coins ever. And I remember I used to get tipped with Shiba Inu, and I never looked at that wallet ever until one day I just saw it popping like crazy. So it's not a bad idea. We could be tipping each other with some shitcoins and maybe get rich without knowing.
That'd be
That's not
so
a
But
good.
we gotta make a backup plan. Like, if this shit pops off, you get like 20% back.
No take back, no take backs.
No, I want to take back. I make you a millionaire. You give me something back.
Well, I think we have to write a white paper for this bullshit idea that Chief just had. We'll write a white paper.
Someone get that notarized.
Yeah, it's a shit paper.
Hey, call it a brown paper, not a white paper.
Brown paper, nice.
Brown paper. Everybody tips each other with shit coins and gets a return if the market cap skyrockets. That makes absolute no sense. Yeah, why not? Yo, while we're waiting for our guest, how's Telestai going?
Yeah, man. We're doing really good. So we had a release of sort of an update on where we are with DevWare. So our digital ID is about to get released again, which is really, really good. So Zach and the team have been working hard on that.
Mm-hmm.
And what that basically means is there won't be any of the how do I phrase this? Difficult sign-in processes to navigate anymore. It'll all be kind of, if you're logged into our digital ID, then you're basically in. So that's really good. And it'll get an overhaul from a look and feel perspective. So a bit of paint and a bit of love is being given to it. And we've also got the what we've called the Telestai CB, which is basically going to guarantee that anyone in the world can access the Telestai network so long as they have an internet connection. And it's basically a Tails-based operating system, which makes us censorship resistant. So anyone can basically post on our ecosystem at that point. So that's actually really cool. The next kind of bits is where we've just discussed the governance piece and how that will all work. So that'll get built into Lasco and move forward. And then we have some nice news that it's looking like we've got another centralized exchange coming along, which is really, really good.
Nice.
So I'm still on the NDA for all of it, but it's all moving along very positively. So yeah.
Well, how much do you know about our guest today, about Nervos?
Bits and pieces. So they're a Bitcoin layer 2. Is that correct? Or built on Bitcoin?
I was hoping to get you excited, being one of the few really important proof of work projects out there.
Yeah.
So I was hoping to hear a bit of excitement. So you didn't let me down completely. So that's good. Nah, these guys.
I'm genuinely interested because what they're doing with their tech could actually be eventually applied to what we're doing with our tech, which is like I'm just really curious at this point. I'm like, tell me more.
I was really concerned back in the day, and I know I make it sound like it's 50 years old, but it's not. The fact that Web3 just moves on so fast makes everything that happened yesterday feel like it's months ago. But when Bitcoin started being attacked for not being environmentally friendly, at the time I was holding substantial bags of CKB, and I was concerned that this whole green movement in crypto was going to kill proof of work. We all knew that it wouldn't hurt Bitcoin, but I was really afraid of the potential impact on proof of work. I'm glad that it proved everybody wrong. at the end of the day, it did just fight back because it made no sense at all.
Of course, it makes no sense because the servers that are required to actually do things like validators and what have you
Yep.
cost more money than Bitcoin, like than Bitcoin at like such a substantial amount. It's not like what Amazon and Google are doing with their servers is the majority of the energy usage in tech and IT. It's like Bitcoin mining doesn't even come close. It's so huge. Matt, welcome, Matt.
Hey, Matt.
Hey guys,
Hey,
how's it
Matt.
going?
Not
Welcome
bad.
into the proof of work energy usage conversation. How's it
We,
going?
we were just talking great things about you guys, and before you guys joined us, we started talking about the proof of work, energy consumption, and all the FUD that was created back in the day. But before we get to that, I really want to thank you for being here. That's absolutely awesome. It's cool for you to give us an opportunity to work with you guys. It was not expected, and I have to thank Rob again, our co-host, for bringing you guys in. This is
Matt, it was
really
definitely not expected. We do appreciate you
Hell
doing
yeah.
this.
Yeah, awesome. Glad to be here, guys. Yeah.
so.
Rob.
Since we were talking about, we will get to Nervos specifically in just a couple of minutes. But just since we started talking about the whole proof of work and the environmental impact of it and all the FUD that was generated back in the day, uh, did this impact the development of Nervos? Did it actually matter at all for you guys?
Yeah, I mean I feel like it has mattered a lot and still kind of continues to because just the trajectory of the project. I think Um, I remember certain conversations like kind of like through the grapevine that, at some point, like some of the investors that invested in the private sale for CKB were trying to push like a move to proof of stake because the challenge with proof of work is that there's issuance out there every day. And compared to a proof of stake chain where everyone can just kind of hold their bags, that's different. But yeah, more practically in terms of like development of the project. I mean, I remember 2018, going to all these conferences and basically people would walk up to a booth and they're like, "Oh, you guys are secured by proof of work? Like, why? Like that doesn't make any sense." There's 30 other booths here of L1s that are launching, and all of them are proof of stake. Like, what's wrong with you guys? Like this, it just seemed kind of backwards. And then when we had Godwoken, which was an Ethereum, I guess an EVM L2,
Mhm.
and we'd go to Ethereum conferences, and I'd talk to people, and the second you said proof of work, they're like, "Oh no, I can't do that." It was like kind of like being the wrong religion.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that there's very strong reasoning behind being secured by proof of work, and I think every year that case gets stronger. But it's always been kind of a counterculture thing after like 2017.
Well, the thing is, I just feel that it kind of disappeared all of a sudden. I don't think that that narrative really matters anymore. Because as our good friend Chief from Telestai, which is another proof of work project that
Mhm.
that was our previous guest and has come up to this space today. We were talking about it earlier, and it's as if back in the day people pretended that proof of stake was not uh, you know environmentally unfriendly,
Mm.
and the whole narrative behind proof of work being a bad system or a potentially dangerous movement
Mm.
kind of really went away because whoever was behind proof of stake really never tackled the energy consumption that was behind proof of stake. So I'm glad that
In,
that's
in
over
in what
with.
way though? Like what do you mean that the energy consumption with proof of stake?
Well, you still have people that are operating something that are consuming energy and are still um, well
But
contributing to.
it's minimal though. I mean, I think if you were to, I mean, there's people that have done the research that the Ethereum network is now like 99.9
Mhm.
something more efficient.
than it
Yeah,
used to
that
be.
that math's pretty easy. The problem with Ethereum is all those GPUs just went into use for other things. Like I guess a lot of people were mining Caspa, and then a lot of
Mhm.
things went to I guess like cloud sourced AI stuff. Even that's changing now. But yeah, it those GPUs were never unplugged. So it's like it's like they kind of just said we're not going to be associated with the problem, but it's still the same. You know.
Well,
Well, it's also the just in general, like the cloud itself. So Amazon and Google's like usage of storage, that whole energy consumption, that's never addressed as well. So the issue I see is one of energy. Like there's an energy problem that humanity faces, and it chose to pin all the bad stuff on proof of work mining as if somehow it was a leper in the room. But the reality is humanity's use of energy and its need for computing power, especially when you look at things like AI now, right? Like
Hmm.
AI requires GPU to power it, right? So all of a
Yep.
sudden AI is now the
Pariah.
golden child, and all that power that is required to run AI, it's not even talked about. So it was a flawed argument to begin with from a proof of work perspective.
Yeah, I think it was more of kind of like judgment being passed on Bitcoin. So like if you say that Bitcoin is this useless pet rock that only like nerds and criminals want to use, and it's using as much energy as a data center, which provides all the email and cat pictures and YouTube videos, then then you have an argument. I think the reason that proof of work has kind of like not been criticized is that argument that Bitcoin is useless kind of went out the window with the ETFs. I mean, I think it's only become more and more kind of rubber stamps from like an institutional kind of level, and you just can't make the argument that Bitcoin is useless anymore. I mean, some people still will, but it just kind of lost a lot of the bite that it had.
absolutely,
Well
absolutely.
said. Yes.
So
Um,
Rob, it's your baby now. You guys know each other, so I think it's cool for you to
the irony
tackle
is,
this conversation a bit.
this is the first time Matt and I have ever actually had a conversation, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's great to talk to you. We
After all the
interacted a
years that
lot
we've said,
online. Yeah.
yes, that's all cool. Well, thank you for joining us again, and everybody here that has tuning in to listening in. We have Matt Quinn with Nervos Network. Matt, who does Nervos Network consist of? Aside you, Matt the Legend.
So it started out with four co-founders. There was Jen, Terry, Kevin, and Daniel. Since Kevin has moved on to, he has a Kalani project now, which is some innovative, intense DeFi infrastructure. And Daniel has, I think he's kind of separated from the industry. I don't hear much anymore. So at this point, out of the founders, just Jen and Terry still kind of leading the charge. And yeah, my team, which yeah, I'm sure on the Western side, people have mostly seen or interacted with. We have a content writer, Stefan, that writes a lot of the stuff on the Nervous knowledge base. There's Lee, who's always in the community, and then we have a couple other folks. Jordan, of course, everyone knows from his videos. And then there's a few other teams that the way the project is organized is we kind of have teams that kind of function as kind of independent entities of themselves. Everyone gets a budget from the treasury, but it's not kind of just managed under one umbrella. There's Cryptape, which is Jan's team, which is consists of about 30 some odd people. Almost completely engineering, technical development. And there's Magic Base, which is an infrastructure team. They maintain Neuron, they maintain the Explorer, a number of other just quiet pieces of infrastructure running out there. There's the CKB Eco Fund, which did a lot of things last year around the initiative to connect Bitcoin with CKB, and they've funded a number of teams and done a number of events. And I feel like I'm missing somebody, but we can just go from there.
No, yeah, no, you did great. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like Nervos is from all over the world, for lack of words.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
For now that CoinGecko has a list of made in USA and made in China, Nervos is listed under made in China. How do you
Yeah.
feel about
I I feel like I've actually been weighing in on this like recently, but it's been something for years that I've kind of railed against. I mean, I was really kind of like the first person outside of kind of like the original kind of founding folks, like the founders, and then kind of their friends and colleagues that joined the project. Mostly out of China at that time, but Kevin, who's a co-founder, has been in the U.S. for a very long time. Maybe he was born in the U.S. I don't quite know his history there. But the goal from the start has always been that this is something like in the spirit of a crypto project, that it's not about a certain jurisdiction. It's about kind of cyberspace, like the cypherpunks talked about, that this is an area that is kind of it doesn't have the same rules as like physical things that are happening. This is all in cyberspace. So it's just a meme to me, and I've seen this meme come around time and time again, that people think if you associate China with the project, like people think China's doing great, like the deep seek stuff now, and like that will like hype people up about it. But it's a mixed bag. I mean, some people will feel great about it, some people will, it kind of hits the nerve of like fear of China. And overall, after 6 months or whatever, like after the meme has kind of run its course, like people don't care anymore. It's like China is, it's not really seen as like good or bad. It's just people are just kind of indifferent. And the made in USA may be different because maybe there's some like regulations or like tax associated things that happen with the made in USA coins, but I don't think we know yet
it?
what the
Gotcha.
criteria is going to be.
Gotcha. You guys should get dual citizenship, so get made in USA, made in China, get the tax free. That'd be cool.
Well,
No, thank you. That's great. Thank you for letting me know that. Next will be this sounds like a very simple question, but even us CKB fans know this is not a simple answer.
mhm.
What is CKB Nervous Network? Now that there is,
I would,
RGB. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah, no, I'd say it's a generalization of Bitcoin to um, to do smart contracts and just to scale. Like I would say that the CKB just kind of takes inspiration from Bitcoin in as many ways as possible, and just tries to be like Bitcoin, but do more than just move numbers around. People have done a number of things with Bitcoin, like the BitVM stuff people are doing now, or Taproot, where they've kind of tried to put more ability into Bitcoin within kind of like the really constrained environment of Bitcoin. But CKB, the idea is that you completely just generalize like the computer of Bitcoin to be CKB VM, and you can generalize some of the stuff around consensus, so we don't have like 1 or 4 meg block every 10 minutes. We can just kind of set those parameters in the nodes, and the consensus algorithm will kind of be self-adjusting and self-healing to whatever the network conditions are. Yeah, I think there was some guy on Reddit that was complaining about, it seems like the story with the Nervos is always changing, and it's like it part of it's because it is at its core such kind of like a simple idea, but you really have that question, what are you going to use that for? So you mentioned RGB plus plus, so feel free to steer the conversation from there.
Oh, no, 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 thank you for that. Because with RGB and soon CKB fiber mainnet going live soon,
Hmm.
um, you know, thus describing CKB Nervos to a developer or
Yeah.
your audience here today change, or is there a certain way? Um,
I
no,
think it
yeah, go ahead.
helps. It helps to kind of make that like flexibility tangible. Like I always think of CKB like if you were to put somebody just like in front of like the hardware of a computer, like the Apple One, like those Steve Jobs and Wozniak, like in the late '70s, they're like, we got this computer board, and like people are looking at it, they're like, well, what the hell do I do with that? They're like, no, it's gonna be great. Like, can you only imagine like the things you could do with it? And it's like, no, they can't. Like people cannot possibly imagine what's in these guys' brains. And CKB is a similar thing, and with fiber and with RGB it does kind of provide like something tangible of like, look, this thing can work in seamlessly in conjunction with Bitcoin, and it doesn't look like a lot of these like Solana meme coin things, like those things probably look shinier, but I think for the right audience, like people will kind of get like, oh, like there's something special here, and it's really only the tip of the iceberg. I mean, there's so many kind of pathways you could go down in terms of what the technology could be capable of. But yeah, we're just trying to find like what's going to be that first thing that gets the network effects that really kind of jumpstarts the ecosystem. And
Gotcha. That gains
yeah,
traction. Like for
yeah,
instance,
RGB
if
did decent, but go ahead.
yeah, no, and that leads to my next subject, which will be fiber network, something that the community is anxiously waiting for. Fiber for my smooth brain, the way I can describe this is fiber network will work with Bitcoin's Lightning Network to
Yeah.
potentially generate use case for the payment system of Bitcoin. Can you tell us more about this or how it works?
Yeah, so it's like a sister network to the Lightning Network, that you have basically like a Lightning Network, running on CKB. Like it's a payment channel network. It's like Lightning compatible, but they're two separate networks. One on Bitcoin and one on CKB, but you can have interoperability between those networks. So someone could like onboard into the fiber, CKB's Lightning Network, and they could use like Joy ID, and the channel could be opened very quickly because CKB has a fast block time. And then they could also plug into Bitcoin's Lightning Network. You have all that liquidity that's in there. Um, come in, and maybe there's smart contract things that open up, like UTXO Stack is a great example, that they want to do. They want to airdrop the UTXO coin on people that lock up assets into the fiber network. And if you think about doing this on Lightning itself, like no one has talked about other assets inside of Lightning really. I mean, there's some move toward getting stable coins in there, but the idea of doing things programmatically or like creating liquidity pools, like all of it is just far outside of what's possible on Bitcoin. But if you were to build these things on CKB and use fiber as this pathway into Lightning, it seems like there's a number of things that open up.
Love it. Thank you so much for that knowledge, man. I every time I speak with you, I gain knowledge, man. Yeah, no problem. So, actually, my next question will be something correlating with narratives. We love talking narratives in our
That's
Telegram
the whole
chat.
industry, man. It's just
Love it,
memes
love
and
it.
narratives. Yeah.
So normally, if a narrative starts trending, we tend to see many projects try to attach themselves to that trending narrative. Example will be Bitcoin Layer 2, selling everybody's Bitcoin Layer 2.
Yep.
So CoinMarketCap has CKB Nervos Network listed as the number one quantum resistant project.
Mhm.
Why is CKB listed there?
Well, I was saying before about like that idea of staring at like Steve Jobs, like Apple One, just this raw green, circuit board with a processor on it. And the cool thing about CKB is that you can implement any cryptography you want on there, and it's not like you have to do a hard fork and the core devs have to agree and get on these calls. Like the same way that people just deploy smart contracts on other chains, you can deploy cryptography onto CKB. So one method of quantum resistant cryptography is called Sphinx Plus. It uses hashes like the same way as Bitcoin mining is all hashes. And this kind of cryptography can't be broken by a quantum computer, at least not anything practically that we can see. So that cryptography has been deployed
Thanks.
on CKB on testnet, and yeah, there's some talk now about a mainnet deployment. It's not there yet. Right now, I'm just kind of trying to get different wallet devs' attention to say like, hey, you can build this quantum resistant wallet. Like, maybe quantum computers in 5 years, maybe can break this cryptography. I mean, there's a lot of people that Bitcoin that they're holding today, like maybe they don't plan on spending it within 5 years. And the idea of holding your CKB for say the next 10 years, it's relatively practical, and if you wanted to do that in a way that you didn't have to worry about quantum computers, like you could do that. There's a little bit of work still that has to be done to get there, but it's completely within reach of the chain. There's a blog article about it. There's a GitHub repo. So
I love it. No, it's to me that's one very strong narrative to a community can fall behind, because I don't think many blockchains can say that they have the ability to build a
no,
quantum resistant wallet.
there's the, right when all this hype started to come out, there were a couple guys, I think on the Solana side, that built something, and Ethereum as well. Like you technically can hold coins in a quantum resistant way on those chains. Like there's a way to hack it together, but the problem is going to be that that way of doing it doesn't really interact with the rest of the stuff that you expect to do. Like you're not going to like put your ETH into a liquidity pool and then hold it in a quantum resistant way. It's like you need to put it in a specialized like quantum resistant contract, and to address that, it's going to require all sorts of core dev kind of stuff. And on CKB, it just kind of seamlessly just goes in. Like, okay, you want to move from just a regular wallet today to a quantum resistant wallet? It's like no problem. You just send your coins to a different address, and like whatever you were doing, like you just keep doing it.
How far do you think we are away from quantum computing being a threat, whether it's to the
Five
Bitcoin network?
to 5 to 10 years is kind of like the talking line. I mean, like we saw with DeepSeek, like technology can really surprise you quickly. But yeah, it seems like practically speaking, 5 to 10 years, and the real thing is going to be like if you're reusing your addresses, like that's the real threat. So like like Ethereum is like perfect example, like what you don't want to do. So like constantly like people are just reusing their Ethereum addresses, and someone with a quantum computer can just be out there figuring out how do I like find the private key associated with this public key that signed this message. And if you compare that with like Bitcoin, where if you just you know you hold your Bitcoin, then you send it to a new address, like someone who's out there doesn't know what the public key is that they need to find the private key to, because that it's hidden behind a hash. Yeah, so I think it'll become a threat for certain things. But I do think there's best practices now where like for the most part it won't be a big deal for some time. But there's definitely those things out there that people are doing that are normal today that are going to be really problematic once the technology reaches a certain level.
It's definitely good advice not to reuse addresses. But what made you be this early to be quantum resistant?
It was just the way it was designed. I mean,
Okay.
it's a lot of it just comes from as I was saying before about CKB just being this generalization of Bitcoin. That the idea was we don't want to have a virtual machine, like a computer running on chain that is I guess kind of dreamt up. Like if you think about like Ethereum or even Solana to some extent, like a lot of this is just stuff that somebody made up. And CKB was designed to be different. Like it uses RISC-V, which is like the lowest level that you're gonna get. Like it's basically like how the hardware interacts with the software. Like that's the language of like RISC-V, like that interaction level. So CKB can do anything that a computer can do, and you can't really say this of any other chain, I don't think. And with that, it just takes a dev just taking the time to compile this cryptography and deploy it on chain. Like it's not like a big strategic decision. Like that big decision was made 2017, 2018, of like basically what the platform was going to be. But because the platform is the way it is, to actually deploy that quantum resistant cryptography, it's a really easy decision.
So since you're talking about history, I'm not a very big history buff, but in Web3, 2017 and 18 is like hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
That's
How much do you think that CKB has evolved ever since you guys came up with the base concept? Is the product that you guys are offering today in line with what you were expecting, or are you far exceeding the expectations?
I think the thing that's exceeding my expectations is how much the world around CKB kind of came to mirror the same ideas that were there when we started, because
Mm,
You muted yourself. I think someone muted the space.
Yeah, no, that was me. That was my fault. I accidentally clicked mute. I'm sorry, Matt.
Matt, you have to unmute yourself, I think, because
Yeah,
Rob,
that's my fault, Matt. I'm sorry. I
Rob
accidentally hit.
sabotaged you.
okay. Yeah, I'll go back to the start. I'm not sure where I dropped off. But
Thanks, bud.
yeah, the thing that's been surprising to me has been the extent to which the industry has kind of like come to the same kind of realizations that we started with. That CKB is designed very opinionated. Like there are very specific things, and like they were things that were not like consensus views, way back when.
Mhm.
And the way that I guess the culture of the project or the technical design is like, it's a blockchain, it's running out there in the world, like we don't want to change it. We don't want people to be arguing about things, and like the community gets divided, and there's like this like philosopher king kind of like dynamic of like Vitalik and three other guys at the Ethereum Foundation. What do they think we should do? Like, just like get rid of all of that and just kind of go back to it kind of like early days of Bitcoin, that this thing is just going to run, and like no one's responsible for it, like no one owns it. And that forced certain design decisions, and it seems like a lot of those things have kind of turned out to be right. So I think the evolution, I mean, I think as far as like what's out there, it will evolve a lot, but it's going to happen like with people using the platform, and like what are like the things that they built. But the platform itself, it's evolved a little bit, and it probably can evolve a little bit more. But like overall, it's kind of the same thing that we started with.
Well, you mentioned your community,
Mhm.
and we have to give a big shout out to the CKB community. You guys have,
Yeah,
I think, one of the most active groups
so many
of
great
people out
guys.
there.
It's
And
amazing.
honestly, it's I can see it. We've done a couple of posts and threads on X in the past about CKB, and the amount of attention they got was impressive. So we can tell that there's really aside from being an active community, they're really enthusiastic about
Yeah.
the project. And well, how do you think that the community is affecting the development of Nervous, of what you guys are doing?
I think like what the community like thinks in terms of like what people consider to be important, like if they are like well uh maybe well intentioned, or invested kind of like things that people are saying, like I think it does impact what people are prioritizing day to day.
Mhm.
I think the community that you see is kind of like a byproduct of a lot of people coming in and a lot of people leaving and some people staying.
Mhm.
So I think those people that stay in the things that they consider to be important, like, and it's not just something like we need more marketing. It's like the things that people are like, you guys really are missing this, you need to do that. Like, I do see that affecting things.
Mhm.
As far as the development goes, I mean, it's really just about what are people using, and like what like Joy ID is a great example. That when Joy ID started, I was like, okay, it's a wallet, but then lots of people used it, and it did become like a much bigger piece of the puzzle. Yeah, so that feedback plays a huge role in things, and it's tough because the amount of noise in crypto. But yeah, I think the Nervos community is great because it's small enough that you do kind of see familiar faces, but it's big enough that it feels like there is social momentum with it.
Well, I have to say, you're talking about people sticking around, leaving, and just joining the space. But in your community, I did meet a lot of people that just become CKB maxis, and I think
Mm.
Rob is one of them. And it's one of those things that really makes you guys particular, because at the end of the day, as you said, the crypto space, the Web3 space is just massive, and it's flooded with new stuff constantly, which often really doesn't have much to offer. You mentioned earlier all the Solana meme coins and all that stuff.
man.
All that stuff really doesn't offer anything aside from the possibility of profiting on a quick flip or whatever it may be. But you guys have a community that has been sticking around, and I think your numbers, I don't know if there's a metric that you can actually show, but I believe that if you were able to show how many people are actually sticking with you guys from the very beginning, you would be on the top 10 for sure.
Really?
Absolutely. So I think Rob has been talking about CKB for years now. He's been going on and on and on and on and on, and it got all of us interested.
I'm guilty as charged on that. It was one of the first when I got into crypto back in 2021. It was one of the first projects where legitimately, I'm like, oh, what is this? And somehow, some way, I got very lucky in the bull run, and I don't know. I loved the community. I loved um, you guys' vision as far as I can say inter.
Interoperability.
Yeah, there we go, man. My English broke.
Yeah, I think it's the project really is built on kind of simple premises. I mean, like the positioning paper is a hell of a read, but like I mean, almost all of it is still applicable to today. And I think that helps because it's not just like something where like if I'm deploying a meme coin, like Avalanche was trying to court meme coin people for a while, and Near, I'm sure, Solana. It's just like with the CKB, there's definitely something different about it, and the challenging part is that it is ended up being like a 10-year journey to like kind of get to where other chains maybe are on day one. Like those chains that launch, like Celestia is a great example. You just launch on day one, it's on Coinbase, and everyone loves you, and you're the greatest thing in the world. CKB, it's like people are just kind of giving you the side eye for a long time. Like, I don't know why you guys are so excited. Is it ever going to work? But the fortunate thing is like people continue to kind of see the same things. I mean, like, I realized this a few years in where I was like, when I first started learning about this stuff, I thought it was cool. I thought it was worth, kind of giving it a shot and propagating it. And then you start to see other people kind of having that same comprehension years later, and it reinforces things, and it keeps the snowball kind of rolling forward. And I think in crypto that is a really unique thing. And I think culture always wins. So Bitcoin had a strong culture. It got it where it is today, and optimistically, hoping for the same thing here.
So, sort of speaking about culture, because that's always one really interesting part about, the entire crypto space. You obviously are doing a lot of stuff with Bitcoin itself. How have sort of the maxis responded to you? Like, have you come up with a lot of resistance from them to the things that you're doing?
A lot of indifference, to be honest. I think the response is better because a lot of the Bitcoin L2 stuff really doesn't have much of a technical leg to stand on. So I think we can kind of have a decent conversation, but the challenge is at the end of the day, there's another asset involved, and for a lot of the Bitcoin folks, that's going to be just kind of that's it. Like once there's another coin involved, it's like no, we're not interested anymore. So it's been a mixed bag. I think there's definitely been some positive in there in terms of like you talk to people that you respect, and like they tell you the project sounds cool, or like some of the ideas, things that you're working on, like these sound like good ideas. But at the end of the day, you are still an altcoin, and that does really kind of limit a lot of the things that you can do. It's been cool to see some of the ways that Bitcoin development is kind of like almost like lagging behind CKB. Like some of the ideas for what to do with Bitcoin are like, oh, like this is Bitcoin becoming more like CKB. Like this is interesting. So yeah, it's overall positive in like the Bitcoin layer 2 kind of space, but objectively it's still a pretty rough situation.
Do you think that that is? I mean, I love Bitcoin.
Hmm.
Nothing against it at all, right? But it does startle me at some level, the resistance to change, or the resistance to the ecosystem, and
Hmm.
part of me wonders if what you guys is doing. Part of that is sort of a little bit like what the ordinals were doing, which is you're breathing, helping to breathe new life into what is effectively a very you know well-known piece
Hmm.
of code, right? That doesn't get a huge amount of work on it done.
Yeah.
I mean, there's work done it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
did you sort of see a role as sort of continuing to shine a light on new news and you know what Bitcoin is capable of doing?
Yeah, yeah. I did a talk kind of mid last year that kind of outlined this in regards to RGB plus plus of like just like a vision for what Bitcoin could provide to the industry as a whole, as being like this like rock solid settlement layer that everyone knows is going to operate as intended, and then if you kind of like use that as like your bedrock of building all these other chains, which basically is what RGB plus plus does. It just leverages Bitcoin's consensus and just follows it. And other chains could do the same thing, and effectively, those chains would kind of be operating in sync because ultimately everyone's just following Bitcoin. I do think that there's there's kind of like too much arguing over potential changes to Bitcoin that people are kind of missing that it even just as it exists today, like there's so much you could do with it that kind of there's just not enough effort invested into it because it is something that maybe I don't know 50 people 100 people in the world are capable of working at, but it I do see a ton of possibility there, and maybe with something like fiber, it's possible that there's an eye-opening moment where people see that like, oh wow, like there's this whole world that we've kind of been ignorant of because of the things that we've been arguing over and fighting over. um the culture in Bitcoin is very indicative of something permissionless. Like that community has fought off attacks from God knows how many different angles, how many times over the years, and more than anything, I think that that's what you see now is like they're just trying to protect something that is very dear to them, and it is just open for anyone to just do whatever with.
Yeah, that's fascinating because it's just yeah. I think I I I I personally think that it's the projects that are adding to the ecosystem
Hmm.
that will long term, break down those cultural barriers to the normies, and that's always something that I'm very passionate about because we're staring in the face of the internet. Really, it's the internet
Hmm.
in the early '90s. I remember dial up and sitting
Hmm.
there listening to the and everyone would look at you as if you're some sort of degenerate, right? Like, because it's like,
Hmm.
what are you doing? But
Yep.
it is the future. Like, blockchain is the future of finance and the way things are being done.
Hmm.
Onboarding people in as easy and you know simple a way as possible.
Hmm.
These questions need to be answered a bit better, I think, and I sort of see what you guys are doing as part of that, really.
Thanks, Chief,
Yeah.
for reminding us of how old we are with the dial-up reference. That was really special. Thank you.
And I know that the minute I mention that, everyone's just like, oh, they all remember.
So
They
I'll,
all knew it. It's just,
I'll I'll add one thing here is that the Nervos community definitely skews older than like the average crypto community, which I think is an asset in the long run, but in the short term, oh man, it's like devastating, because it's like you're just like it's like you're just listening to the wrong radio station. Everyone's just like, well, what about meme coins? What about this? Even the poor Ethereum community, after Donald Trump, released the Trump coin, like they're ready to fight each other over what? They're like, I was like, to me it makes no sense, but I understand like we're just of a different, just very different, mental, places that we're operating. But yeah, I think it's overall it's an asset, but yeah, you really do have to jump through those mental hoops to appreciate the time.
Well, you are comparing your project to meme coins. and
Mm-hmm.
the audience is just completely different,
Yeah.
absolutely completely different. We are here to see this space thrive and grow, and it won't thrive and grow if everybody just dumps money on Trump coin.
Yeah.
That's just a fact. There's no way around it. There's nothing that can be said when comparing serious projects like yours to honestly, it's bullshit. It is what it is. It's just a way to get money out of somebody else, and
Yeah, it works for something, but it really is. It's very nihilistic. You know, the picture that it paints. That
sure.
there was a documentary about Hex that, like, if anyone, maybe during the
Yeah,
bear market something watched, but like Richard Hart makes this
We
whole
hate
argument about
text.
how, like, money is just whatever people want to say it is, which he's
yeah,
right.
absolutely.
That's the way it works. But, like, man, like, what are we all doing here? Why are there, you know what is it, like, tens of millions of coins now kind of leveraging this property? I mean, ultimately, I think that's the every coin that gets deployed is more bullish for Bitcoin, because you just make it harder for anything else to ever come close.
Well, you mentioned Richard Hart, and Deso correctly said that we hate the guy. But the thing is, to a certain point, he did just explain to everybody how a Ponzi scheme works,
Mm,
and everybody that was into Hex was like, "Yep, we understand that, and we're okay with it because we're just getting richer."
mm.
And we can all see how that turned out. It is
Yeah.
what it is. Crypto is full of degens, and it's full of people that really don't see um, the potential of
Mm,
this space, because as Chief said earlier, this is the evolution of finance, and you can't pretend that a meme coin on Solana is the evolution of anything aside from
mhm.
just being a meme coin. But
Maybe the future, where, like, the post materialism, like, nothing is real, like, all of that, like, in that way, it's like a glimpse of the future. But all of that is very, very dark. Like, I don't think anyone wants to think about that.
that's just before Fallout. So yeah,
Yeah.
nobody wants that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, honestly, the again, we're all fans of Nervos, so you are talking to us, and we're just listening and admiring what you guys have done, and you know the fact remains. Um,
I appreciate it. Honestly, I used to get on these things years ago and just feel like, it's just kind of like having to kind of rattle off, like, okay, there's this going on, we're working on this, there's this partnership, there's this, there's that. And, like, I'm grateful that we've kind of, like, weathered through, and, like, it just is all just about conceptually, what's there, because that's always been, like, basically what we have to stand on. And but yeah, we got to outlive a lot of noise and nonsense.
Absolutely.
Do you guys want to
Well,
take questions? Is that a good
yeah,
idea? I see some people have.
that's what I was about to say. If somebody wants to ask a question, just pop your hand. We'll give you the speaker role. So that's always a thing that we encourage.
So how long
Um,
have you guys been doing these spaces?
Nah, man, we've been doing this for I think less than 2 months, and
Oh, well.
we've been doing this honestly just for fun. Initially, we were just talking to each other, and people would come in and listen.
Mhm.
But then we decided, since we're all active in various communities, we decided to have a chat with other guys and who are developing NFT projects. We met. This is how we met Chief from Telestai, and we just decided let's try to bring in some technicals into this and
Mhm.
allow people to talk about their projects. And we were thinking about just letting people promote their stuff,
Mhm.
but then we decided that maybe it was best not only to promote something but actually introduce people to something that is valid. And this is why you're here, because
Amazing.
Yeah.
at the end of the day, people deserve to know about CKB. And honestly, if people just look at the price action, it isn't fair, because
Mm,
if people just look at the price action and see how CKB has been performing over the past 3 weeks,
mhm.
um, it kind of takes away the right attention from you
Mhm.
guys, because
Yeah,
it's
I give a shout out to the Ergo project on that front as well, because I think that's another project that, similar kind of trajectory and analysis. And yeah, if you just look at the price, it's very, very one dimensional. But yeah, I think that their culture is great, and yeah, great guys over there.
well, it is one dimensional. It is but this is also what ruins crypto, and it goes back to meme coins. It goes back to flipping coins. Um, a lot of people, and I'm one of them, by the way. I joined this space because I came from finance, and I just found an opportunity to operate on a market that was open 24/7.
Yeah.
And I just bought stuff and sold stuff. I made money. I bought stuff. I sold some more. Uh, but then I made the really bad choice of looking into things,
Mm.
and it just sucked me in because
Yeah.
you start learning that, wow, I just dumped a coin or a project that has so much potential,
Mm.
and it isn't fair. And although in our community in Upsiders we keep saying don't marry your bags,
Yeah.
we don't really mean that. I mean, if you're into something and you find the potential of a technology, you should probably, if you can afford it, you should probably just endorse that community and stick
Mhm.
to what you're doing, because you're investing in people. And waiting to for an all-time high to dump the bag, it kind of kills the whole concept of Web3. Honestly, that's just my opinion, I guess.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely a challenging piece there where you say like you're investing in people, but that's like, from like being I guess like class of 2017, 2018, like that was like definitively like what someone was not doing in buying
Hmm.
a coin. Like it's like, the people are there to like bootstrap the network and like it yeah, it's I do see there's a real challenging piece there that like you do like all of us play a role in like all of these projects, and but ultimately it's all just market factors, and like it's unlikely that anything succeeds, so it's like you do have to have like kind of like a dispassionate view in some way about your bags. But then there's also like the true fortunes were not made through diversification, that you do kind of have to like stake your flag certain places, and like those have to be the things that you're going to either they're going to make or break you. So yeah, there's a few different things here, but it reminds me of an old I think it's the art of war. It's like the battle is won before the first shot is fired, and I feel like that's very much like the industry.
Hmm.
Like I don't think that anything that happens today is going to make a difference in ultimately what chains are still running in 5 or 10 years.
True.
And yeah, so yeah, I see kind of nuance all over the board.
I'm gonna just say again, if anybody that is listening wants to ask our guest a question, just drop your hand, and we'll give you the speaker right. In the meantime, that we get some questions. Matt, what do you think should get us excited out of all of the things that you've talked about today? What do you think is the most exciting aspect of CKB that we should be all anticipating?
I think we were just talking about like your bags. I think the fact that CKB has an economic model, like there is, like if you buy CKB, like you know what you are buying, and it's not just like uh like Cardano, they're talking about, oh, it's a fixed number of coins, like you get this issuance, but like what is that issuance? Like you can stake it, I guess you can deposit in DeFi.
Hmm.
But with CKB, like owning CKB actually gets you a piece of the ledger, or you can lock it in the DAO and you can get a couple percent back on your CKB a year. And all of that is intended to kind of create a functioning economic model, and I just don't see other chains that have that.
Hmm.
In terms of development, it's a much harder question to answer. Um, I I would say seeing and the quantum resistance it's a pretty good selling point that could pop. Fiber maybe. I mean, I think the mimetic ability is probably the most exciting thing that we've found like over the years. Like the narrative just kind of changes to suit whatever's hot right now, but never really changes too much. The Bitcoin layer 2 stuff was like a significant strategic kind of pivot last year, but it didn't require changing the chain itself or anything like that. So mimetic value, maybe that's the most exciting thing.
Well, I think honestly, there's so much to be excited about. So I see why you're not focusing on a simple thing, on a single thing. But
I honestly, I wish I had it. I mean, it's if you can just kind of like, turn one word to the max in crypto, that's what you want. Honestly, I would do that with fiber, but I think the nuance that people need to understand is like, it's not just kind of like standing up the network, like Lightning itself. Like, you've got, people need to have liquidity, and like when people try to use those channels, like, then maybe there's unreliability in using those channels. Like, fiber is one of those things that it's a great it's a great pathway, and it could really change the industry. But in a month or two's time, it probably doesn't look revolutionary yet. There's still a lot of pieces coming into place. So yeah, I really wish I could like hammer that harder in the near term, but I think it's just going to take a little while to get there.
good enough, honestly. It makes sense, and we can't expect you to just decide the next narrative. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it is what it is. But again, I think there's just so much to be excited about it. It's just a very good answer. I brought Smash Bros as a speaker. I think that he had a question to ask.
Yeah, how you guys doing today? Thanks for bringing me up, man.
Hey,
Um,
buddy.
so I've actually been a big fan of CKB. I'm a miner, right? So core miner. Been mining the token for, geez, at least 3 years now. 3 years
Wow.
now, probably in that neighborhood. Have
Amazing.
never sold a single token. Um, and I'm a holder, long term, right? A
Right.
big fan of the proof of work. Also with Chief and Telesia, right? I'm a miner of that token as well. Really
Losing
love
there.
what Chief has been doing, man, and been really tracking it. Um, although as a miner, right, I'm running a lot of mining. Our business has been kind of changing to where we're getting into more of the like the Web3 infrastructure, where we're kind of like onboarding high level AI hardware, putting it into like the rental market. And I was just curious, like, are you guys thinking of anything? And I'm sorry I got here a little bit late. Any opportunities with CKB in the Web3 environment, like a marketplace for, I don't know, like NFTs? Not a big fan of the meme bullshit.
Hmm.
I kind of like crept into the like the Solana scam for a little bit, just exhausted. Like, as a miner, you kind of look to reposition a little bit and just see what
Hmm.
else is going on. Um, but miners, we got real skin in the game, right? So I've
Yeah.
been paying
Yep.
CK Power on CKB for 3 years
Yeah.
now, right? And I've ridden it,
Yeah.
and I'll continue to ride it. And the same thing with Telestia, man. Love what Chief is doing. But what can you tell me about like opportunities that might represent for like Web3 development? My team is core in engineering, and we're getting involved in maybe some like NFTs, some artwork, some educational stuff. And I just wanted to see if that was something was on your brain, man.
Yeah, I think looking at like the development with RGB and fiber, it's gonna be a different like architecture, a different infrastructure. Like the app, the Web3 experience is gonna look different. But I see that there's a real opportunity to build a different kind of like DApp or blockchain application using these pieces of infrastructure. It may take some time to. I feel like with CKB, everything's always like in the future. It's going to take some time, but the tooling is like definitely a piece that people are going to have to work on. But I can see like in terms of say selling NFTs, like that idea that people could use like native Bitcoin maybe within Lightning and like own NFTs on CKB, like that could be a major selling point. Using the passkey wallets, also a major selling point. Um, yeah, I think the opportunities are there, but right now it's very much like simple infrastructure. Like I see with RGB they were selling NFTs, but the problem with that is you're still kind of stuck with Bitcoin's block time. So like if you basically like put in front of a Web3 user that a transaction might take an hour, like you basically lost them. So we kind of need the fiber piece to come in. I know there's some different SDK work that's going on around Fiber. I think that's going to be a really important piece that we need to have usable tools for web developers. But this is the vision that once we have this network up and running and interoperable with Lightning, that from an application developer standpoint, it is relatively easy to just integrate their application in. And yeah, I say definitely stay tuned for Fiber and the SDKs around it. I know there's a AI agent thing that someone's trying to work on now. I think things like that would be really important too.
Cool. Appreciate that, Chief. What opportunities are inside of Telesia, man? Like I've been watching you guys, and you guys are cooking, man. Um, I'm just curious.
Yeah, we've got a few things coming. So we put out a fairly big update on our dev. So if you've got the time to have a read of it, I think that will actually answer a lot of like what we're doing from a nitty gritty point of view. From more of a summary point of view, we've got we've got the relaunch of Zeroa, which is going to be the digital ID piece. So that's going to be essentially allowing you to sign in a little bit like a MetaMask into the social media platform that we've got. We've just finished all the documentation and all the information on our creators bubble, which is the Tails-based Linux operating system that basically guarantees everyone the chance to log on wherever you can in the world. So we're censorship resistant at that point. We probably have another exchange coming online sort of mid to late Feb, which is good. I'm still under NDA for it, but it's all going really well. There's a stack going on there. But yeah, the ecosystem is growing and the dev work to support it is there. We've got a Spaces next week, which I'm probably going to line up with our marketing guy, and we're just going to have basically a conversation, invite people in to have a chat. But yeah, there's a stack going on, like lots in the space at the moment. I'm pretty blessed with what the team's doing.
Thanks, Chief. What we've been doing too lately is we've been let's just say like strategically deploying capital into like content creators, like more on the artist level, right? Like trying to humanize some things. Do you see that as an opportunity inside your infrastructure, your ecosystem, Chief?
Yeah, any content creator who wants to earn anything in the ecosystem of Telestai will be able to charge a fair rate according to what they believe it's worth and get full remuneration for it. How we actually structure it from an infrastructure point of view, like will we have NFTs? At the moment, we haven't really worked through that sort of piece. I'm reluctant to say yes in the traditional sense. We want to support art and we want to support artists. But it just might not be, via meme coin or NFT methodologies per se. It'll probably look a little bit different, but in principle, yes, that they will have a home. They'll be able to, earn from what they produce, basically.
Cool. What do you guys think about this meme coin nonsense?
I'm gonna interject real quick. We got another guy who wants to ask a question to the Nervos.
We'll get back to the meme coins in a minute. Yeah. Parsi, you wanted to ask a couple of questions in regards to Nervos?
Yeah, hello.
Hey,
Can you
buddy.
guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Right. So I just have two questions. One, it's all regarding privacy. So like, how does the UTXO based model of like Nervos impact the transaction traceability? Like compared to account-based blockchains, and like what privacy advantages or challenges does this present?
So it it obscures things a bit. I mean, I think with an account based chain, it's very obvious that this account went to this account, went to this account, went to this account. With UTXOs, I mean, you can get things that are more like Bitcoin mixers where it's like you can have a lot of inputs that come in and then a lot of outputs that go out, and it's kind of unclear what the relationship between all those things are. I know that there's a lot of work that's been done in the Bitcoin ecosystem to trace things that kind of get mixed. It I would say traditionally, things like this are not discussed as privacy. I do think that UTXOs provide more opportunities to integrate privacy technologies in. So, like, say for Ethereum example, for example, you can deposit your ETH into the Tornado Cash contracts, right? And then that can leave the Tornado Cash contract and go to somebody else. But with UTXOs, you effectively have like um, some code that always secures any coins that are getting spent. So you can imagine like you can move the functionality of that Tornado Cash contract directly into the code that's like securing the UTXO. So I don't think it's something that we see implemented today. There was a proposal years back to implement Mimblewimble on top of CKB, but I think privacy stuff is kind of challenging. I think you do need some very possibly anonymous motivated individuals to do it. I think otherwise it just gets there's a lot of considerations there that can really kind of slow down the cognitive process that's required to do these things. Yeah, so I think definitely not not perfect by any means, but I do think there's a lot of potential there for innovation, and something like Lightning kind of starts to walk the boundary between private and not private, and maybe we can have more privacy preserving technologies in there. I think the Tornado Cash experience really brings into question privacy and account based chains. I think there's a lot of technical questions there that I can't quite see how people step through.
Oh, all right. And the last question that I had for you was, given Nervos layer one and layer two architecture,
Mhm.
what privacy enhancing solutions like, for example, ZK snarks or off-chain mixing or confidential execution could be integrated to improve like anonymity while maintaining scalability? If I think this could be related to the quantum technology we're talking about, maybe?
Mhm. Yeah, I think using ZK, ZK and off-chain things are definitely the way. I think moving your transaction graph off-chain is the first important step because any information that we put out there for the entire world to know, like on a long enough timeline, somebody can probably reverse engineer some way to learn about what that information ultimately is. So moving things into channels or other off-chain kind of gadgetry, I think that's the first step toward actual like usable privacy with blockchains. And then we probably do need some sort of ZK technology within that. I'm not a big fan of the trusted execution environments, but those may be an important thing. As the work gets figured out how to actually implement real true untrusted solutions.
Right. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Well, we've been doing this for an hour now, so Matt, we usually try to wrap things up, also because we know that you guys are busy and we don't want to keep you with us degens all day.
Sure.
But I think we have time for one more question if somebody has anything to ask. I think this space was really enlightening, also for people like us that are familiar with the project. Um, it was very informative. Um, we did tackle pretty much anything that came to mind. You've been extremely helpful in bringing insight to the technical aspects. So again, thank you for coming. And I honestly ask everybody that is listening to this to make sure to follow CKB. Are there any particular CKB accounts do you think that should be followed by the listeners, aside from, of course, yours and the Nervos Foundation?
I think definitely the CKB Eco Fund. I know there's always questions about what's going on with marketing, what's going on with the ecosystem, and I think that's the best source. I think they're the most tapped into developments and new projects that are starting up. Also at Nervos Network, which was kind of like the official account for a while. It's now just kind of like a retweeting account. Kind of with that plan of the decentralization of the project over time. But that's good to just kind of keep in touch with documentation, things that are going on.
All right. I'm sure that we'll all follow the account. And guys, if you enjoy the space, we're a very small community. We're trying our best to bring high quality guests like Matt and CKB and Telestai and all these guys into this space for you guys to discover. So please support us as well and try to follow and join our community. That would be great. I think that if nobody else has questions to raise, I think we can wrap it up here. And I think, Matt, that you'll be remembered for for a long time for
Yes, you
spending some
will.
time with us.
Thank you, Matt.
This has been great. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys having me, and yeah, you're around, kind of spreading the good word of crypto on the right side of history, and yeah, it's been great. Always good to chat with light minds. Yeah, really appreciate Rob setting things up, reaching out, all your participation in the community, and yeah, all
Always,
the
always.
past, present, and future Nervos community members in the audience. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys coming by, your time. So yeah, it's always great to talk about the project. So
Thank you, Matt.
all right, take care, guys.
All
Be
right,
well.
guys.
Thank you, guys. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye, everybody. Thank you very much.